everybody, I'm Beebs Kelley. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. Let's take a look at Meghan Markle's speech she gave upon arriving to the Invictus Games. I think this was like kind of a reception before the official opening ceremony happened. And this speech sounded pretty much exactly the same as last time. Remember this time where she said she was getting milkshakes for the kids and didn't plan on speaking, but wanted to introduce Harry. It's the exact same thing. She did it again, but she was a lot more manic this time. She looked really crazy. She did a lot of weird, overly emotive, exaggerated acting things. So these cackles, these really dramatic faces here. Just, it was awkward. It was bad. And worst of all, she walked up to the microphone and said, "Hey, you. Hello, everybody." And there was crickets. It was bad. It was really rough. So let's get into it. Apart from the awkward introduction to the stage that she did, she packed in more of her vague platitudes about family life, oddly thrown in where they don't really fit. She made a fool of herself once again, and the whole thing was just rough. Hard to watch. I'll try to plug in the speech here if I can. If it gets copyrighted, I'll have to cut it, but I'll try to plug it in here for you. Take a listen.
Well, hello, you. Hi, everybody. How are we feeling?
Great.
So I was not planning on speaking tonight, and we just arrived, I don't know, a couple hours ago, and I touched Canadian soil, and I went, "Oh, it feels like home." We are so excited. We also recognize most of you are probably so exhausted from how much travel you've done, how much adrenaline you have pumping, how excited you are for what is going to be one of the most outstanding, memorable, unforgettable, and connected weeks probably for you and for your families. We are just thrilled to be here, and I would be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to introduce someone who means a lot to me, and I know means quite a lot to all of you. You'll see him throughout this week. You will see him at the games. You will see him probably curling with you, cheering you on at He'll be cheering you on at wheelchair basketball. He'll be going down that, what is that? Is it the luge? Oh my gosh, you guys, the thing that I will never do. My husband will probably do 3 times because he wants to be there with you. He is in it with you. And you'll see him through all of those moments. He'll be there with you. What you won't have seen is all of the moments that have happened in the lead up to these games. All of the moments where, as you know, with families, the big rush in the morning and getting ready for school and packing the lunch boxes and making breakfast, and my husband's in all of that with us. And then he'll be on his phone and Archie will say, "Papa, why are you on your phone?" He's like, "Because it's Invictus. I'm getting ready for Invictus." It means so much to him. You are his family, just as we are his family. And I hope you recognize how much of his heart he has poured into every single beat that has gotten all of you to this week that is going to be spectacular. I need you to know that. I need you to know how much it means to him and how much each of you means to him. So it is my entire pleasure and complete honor to introduce to the stage my husband, the father of our very sweet, excited children who are cheering you on from California, Prince Harry, founder of the Invictus Games, the Duke of Sussex.
So many things she could have done to improve this horrendous public speaking moment. This could go down in public speaking classes or seminars as exactly what not to do. I've said this before about the Meg, that when you're talking, to a group or you're public speaking, whatever, giving a speech, it can be very helpful to weave in things that demonstrate personal connection. But the Meg always takes it far too far, and also does so in ways that are just awkward and weird and don't really fit in and make sense. It has to make sense still. Like, you want to make it clear that you care about whatever it is you're talking about, that you have a connection to the subject or the group at hand or whatever it is, the event. But you don't want to turn it into yourself. And that's the mistake she always makes. And you also need to make sure it makes sense, or else it seems fake and contrived. So her starting off by saying, "Hey, you," it was so weird, so out of place, so strange. And you could tell the crowd was like, what did she just say? Because it's such a bizarre way to start a speech, to be like, "Hey, you," as if you know these people personally. So bizarre. But this segment of the speech where she was about to introduce Harry and started talking about herself and Harry again, her family again, bringing it back to herself once again. She already did it once at the beginning. If that would have been the only time, fine. But no, she kept doing it, and that was a problem. But regardless, in the segment where she was saying how Harry is always looking at his phone about Invictus while they're making breakfast and packing lunches, that he's always on the phone, it's Invictus, in this like really weird dramatic way. What she was trying to convey, I can only assume, was that Harry dedicates a lot of his time, that he makes himself available to these needs all the time whenever it may be, even if it's interrupting his morning routine or something, or first thing in the morning, that's something he's prioritizing just as much as prioritizing taking care of his family, basically. I think is what she was trying to say, but it would have been much better to just say that Harry prioritizes Invictus just as much as he prioritizes his family because he cares so much about it. Like, that would have made more sense to people, because the way she did it was so ridiculous. Nobody can take it seriously. And her theatrics just came across as histrionic, as unwell. They didn't come across as like, ooh, you're really sucking me into the story you're telling. Absolutely not. It was the opposite. It was a repellent to her story. But it might have been better to include just why she thinks that it's important for her kids to see his dedication, why she thinks it's valuable for her kids to see the example that Harry is setting for them, to extend their support to the veteran community, to be involved in something like this, that it's inspiring to her and her kids. The compassion, drive, perseverance is an inspiring segue that she could have used to then note those qualities in the athletes, and how much hope that gives the people watching and hearing their stories, that she's so thankful to be within the orbit of Invictus because they have these qualities that then inspire other people to have these qualities, and have inspired Harry to be all the more dedicated and involved and supportive to Invictus. And he cares so much about Invictus because the athletes inspire him, which then she thinks is inspiring for her kids and herself to see. That would have been a better approach, because it creates that circle effect where she starts by talking about Invictus, brings it back to Harry, and then circles it back around to Invictus. Meghan seems to kind of do it the opposite way, where she's like, I'm going to start by talking about me, and then talk about Invictus a little bit, and then bring it back to me again. It should be the opposite. Two things about the subject matter, in this case Invictus, with one thing about you sandwiched between. That's okay. But instead, Meghan, of course, kept it really, really lame and very much focused on separating herself and her kids and Harry from the event. It very much felt like she was like, well, we're here doing these things for you guys, and aren't you so lucky? That was sort of the vibe, very much sort of separating them from it, pulling them up above the event and the athletes themselves is kind of the general vibe that her speech gave. Talking about how involved Prince Harry is rather than focusing on the athletes wasn't a great move. Now, granted, it did make sense to mention how much Harry cares about the event and that it matters to him, but her choice of words plus her tone really rather conveyed the message that Harry's interaction with the event is what's most extraordinary, rather than noting the privilege that Harry feels in getting to be part of Invictus. Because she spent so much more time talking about her kids, and Harry, and talking about Harry's, like, you know, packing lunchboxes, the way she did it with her voice, like she was fake yelling. That's one of my pet peeves, when somebody does the fake yelling thing. We're packing lunches and we're getting ready for breakfast, and then it's Invictus. It's Invictus. I just can't even. Her over-the-top delivery of it and the path she took through this little speech, that was definitely not impromptu. The Meg always plans to be getting a microphone and talking. Really did make the speech's focus on praising Harry's involvement and elevating it as super special, super important, the biggest deal, rather than focusing on the athletes being the biggest deal, the most important thing, and an inspiration to Harry and Meghan, and a motivator for Harry to work harder. That would have made much more sense. I can't help but think just how much better it would have been for her to maintain direction towards the athletes and their experience, how inspirational that is, or just better yet, for the Meg to stay out of it altogether. That would have been the best way. Introducing your spouse is totally fine. It makes sense lots of the time, but not all of the time. In most professional settings, you would never have your spouse introduce you over your fellow colleagues or the other people involved. So it would have made more sense and perhaps given Harry a bit more credibility and made him look more important and more pivotal to the event itself if he had been introduced by somebody who was part of the Invictus staff, like the organizers themselves, like perhaps whoever it is that's in charge now after everybody's left and quit this last year. I'm not sure who it is, but a CEO or a director or, whoever's kind of overseeing the Winter Games, whoever that person is introducing Harry would have made more sense and made him look more professional and important in this moment. But regardless, I don't have a ton of beef with Meghan introducing Harry. She's kind of elbowed her way into doing this every year since she got with Harry. But it's clear with Meghan, it's always a manipulated circumstance. It definitely, I'm not getting the vibe, and we've never heard that Meghan has been asked to introduce Harry, that she's been invited to speak. It feels like, it looks like, and rumor is that she just sort of elbows her way in because it's never made sense why Meghan suddenly is talking at an Invictus podium introducing Harry. And it's never really made sense, her speeches, because she always circles it back to her and Harry and them so much that she's not looking out onto the organization or the athletes at all. And therefore, it feels out of place, like she doesn't quite get it. So I think that she just kind of manipulates her way into introducing Harry every year. Like, oh, don't you want me to introduce you again? Sort of a thing. And then people don't want to say no because they don't want to be rude. That's how it feels. It was clear, though, within their first few days there that they came out with a very pronounced goal to try to shut down the divorce rumors hard. She was extra clingy during the opening ceremony, and it was noticeably still somewhat one-sided, with her clearly leaning into Harry much more than he towards her filming him at one point and him kind of dropping a smile, looking uncomfortable with the situation. Could it be that Harry was upset with the revelation that the Meg and her team floated the idea of a post-Harold divorce book to see what sort of offers would come from that pitch? And now that that's come to light, she's sort of trying to fix the damage that she caused by sort of doting on Harry a bit more. I don't know. What do you think? It's clear that there's a little bit more behind this. Their dynamic does seem ever so slightly off. But I have always said I do not think that they're getting divorced. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, if ever. But that doesn't mean that there's not challenges or problems. I'm eager to hear what you think in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. I'll be back with a lot more about Invictus in the coming days. So be sure you're subscribed so you do not miss it. Have a happy day, everybody. Bye.